Welcome to the beginner tutorial on ClickUp. In this video, you're going to learn how to use all the basic features to set up ClickUp for your small business. We're going to use it as a CRM, a customer relationship management system, so you can manage all the leads that come into your business so you can manage them from new lead, all the way to close. Now, let's get started. Just a first overview, why are we going to use ClickUp? There are many other tools that are out there for CRMs, especially for small businesses. I love ClickUp just because of the affordability and the high ability to customize everything, from adding custom features to all the way to going up to adding forms for data entry, integration with Zapier for third-party integrations and automations, and then also to build dashboards for reporting and for management if you're managing a team. That's why I love ClickUp, is because it's an all-in-one tool that allows you to build a CRM, task manager, so you can manage all the things that need to get done in your business, including leads, and then get high-level executive reporting. And then for the price, you can't beat it for the price. Let's talk about price, because every feature that I'll be showing in this beginner tutorial, you can get done with the unlimited plan. So yearly it's $7 and monthly it's $10. Super affordable compared to all the other CRMs that are out there. Like, for what you get, the ability to add like unlimited records and stuff like that. Trust, I used to build Salesforce CRMs for $1 million startups and businesses and corporations, and the flexibility for the price that you get is a great way. That's why I love ClickUp for small to medium-sized businesses. Now I'm logged into my ClickUp account, so let's start from scratch. So on the left hand side, you have your main bar here. So we're going to go over to view all spaces, this little space area. The first thing we want to talk about is a space and a list. Spaces are just folders, and inside of a space you have a list. A list could be a CRM or it could be a task manager, for example. So I'm going to create a new space, and for this business we're going to make it, I'm going to call this my cookie business, cookie wholesales. Say I wholesale and sell large quantities of cookies to small bakeries around, let's say, the Los Angeles area, for example. That's a great example. So we're going to call this cookie wholesale space. These are just like templates for like if you want to add like lists and statuses, but we're going to just start completely from scratch using the for starter. And then when we go down to the first option, we can now start to customize our list. Make sure just everything is unchecked starting off. That way we can start from scratch from the same place. I'll click done. Then next is statuses. We're just going to complete this just later on. You can customize all this later on when you're actually inside of it. Here's some additional features like email, custom fields, time tracking. I'm going to take off time tracking, time estimates, multiple assignees, tags. It's just like if multiple assignees, if you have multiple team members that you want this to be assigned to. If you do time estimation or time clocking, for example, and tracking, well, this is like estimating for tasks. How long does a task take to complete, for example, so you can manage your workload. Time tracking is if you have like hourly rates, say you're a consultancy, an attorney, for an example, that does time tracking. We don't need any of these. We don't need subtasks yet. We're going to just start very simple, and I highly recommend we don't even need priority. Just do email and custom fields. Those are the main two just starting off. And these are additional features. They go like superpowers for your list. Great. Now we did starter. We just did some basic customizations to tailor a list in our space, but we could change a lot of these, which I'm going to show later on. So I'm going to click create my space. Great. Now on our left hand side, we have a space, cookie wholesales. You can also like organize these by your marketing department, your legal department. So you can have your whole team working in here, each with their own custom list. One could be a CRM, one could be a task management list, so that you can have everything organized in your business, so that you can see as a manager everything in your business in one view. So in my cookie space, I'm going to go to list, and now we're going to start customizing things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to rename this list name. So I'm going to click the three little dots and click rename, and I'm just going to call it CRM. It's also good to customize this, especially when you have a third-party integration like a Zapier integration, so that you know which list you can trigger automation for example. Nice. Now that we have our list name, I'm going to just click on this X right here because it says, hey, do you want to inherit status options from like a previous list? No. We're just going to start from scratch. So I got a basic list right here. I'm going to click here and just rename this. as my list of customers, or just CRM again. CRM list, just something simple. Great. Now the first thing I want to do is start to customize my statuses. So I'm going to click 3 little dots next to my status, and I'm going to click Edit Statuses. And here's where you can edit your statuses. So here I'm going to call this new lead. I'm going to say follow up. That way new leads come in, they get followed up, and then I want close win. I want another one, close lost. I like having a close loss and a close win. That way I can see how many leads were lost. They were busy, they were not interested for whatever reason. We want to log those. And then also close win, which ones were actually turned into closed deals, for example. And then I have my new leads. So when they come in, they fill out a form on a website, for example, it goes into new lead. And then once I come in, anything that's in new lead, I know I haven't touched this lead or contacted this lead yet. So that way I can, once I contact them, phone, reach out to them, then I can move them into follow up or any of the other statuses, for example. So this is just a very clean, simple way to create new statuses. And then I'm going to click apply changes. Next, to give myself real estate on the left-hand side, I'm going to click this little button up here to collapse my sidebar. That way I just have more real estate to work with. Now, as you can see, I could only see new lead here. I want to see all my statuses, even if there's no tasks in there, for example. So to do that, I'm going to click customize. You can't really see it in the upper right-hand corner. There we go. Customize. And then I'm going to go to layout options. And then I'm going to click on toggle right here, show empty statuses. Now I can see my loss, follow up, and new lead, but notice how they're inverted. They're upside down. Let's invert them so that they're right side up. I also get a pop-up anytime I try and make some changes to the status here. It's going to say, hey, you've made some changes. Do you want to save this for everywhere? I want to automatically save view. That way it saves this and it locks this in as the main view anytime me or a team member comes in to see something. So under statuses, we're going to invert it. So status, group, and see how it's ascending. We want to reverse it and go descending. So that way our new lead is at the top. Then it moves from the very top, logically top to bottom. New lead, follow up, and close loss. And if I want to see show closed, I'm going to click this toggle right here. Boom. And that's how we hide or unhide basically our close win. So now I can see all my statuses and they're sorted in the right way. Next thing I want to do is just change the color just because it's visual. So if I click on the status, I could change the color here. I want red just to show urgency. And then follow up, I also want to change that to blue. Actually yellow. And then close lost, make that gray. And then close win, that's green. So now that we changed our colors, that way it just makes it visually easy to organize. The next thing we want to do is now we want to start to add custom columns, because that's the great thing about ClickUp is that you can really customize what's called the metadata, additional properties, or basically additional information about either a lead or a task in here so that it's not stored in your brain, which is great. So the first thing I want to do to create a new status is go to the right hand side and click on this little plus symbol right here. There we go. That's going to add a column, just like Excel, for example. Now, each column, or also called a property, we want it to be the same data type, meaning everything is just text, everything is just numbers, everything is just dates, for example. That's why you want to organize it. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do a text box. And if you hover over each one of these, it will give you, ClickUp is really good to give you additional information about what is that data type for that field, for example. And I want to create basically a notes column. That way I could put notes to help keep track of special details for each task or each lead that comes in. So I'm going to click on text. It says, hey, what do you want to give it? Give it a name. So I'm going to call this notes. Very simple. You could put some help text, for example, just additional notes, for example. And then the data type, you can always change it to something else, but we want it text and don't need default. We're just going to click create. Now we added our text, but it didn't show in our column. So we need to add it. So we're going to go back to our add column. And here it says create field, but there's a little back arrow. So if you click this back arrow, we're going to go to fields. And then here's a list of all the fields that are saved in this list, where you can see if it's checked here, it means that, let me zoom in. There we go. You can see that it's enabled or it's shown, but then these are available, additional statuses. And then if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see any new fields that you've added. So I'm going to click on this toggle field, and that will show it. Now there's two ways to move it. Up here, you can see how it's ordered. It's ordered assign, due date, and notes is right behind it, so it's following this order. So these little dots right here, I can click and hold and drag this to the very front. And now you can see notes, assignee, so it's matching this order. That looks good. That way I could put notes when a new lead comes in. Let's click one and call this Bob, for example. I can add a note here saying new lead, for example. So now we've got name, we've got notes. Now assignee, if you have an additional team, for example, it's just me. So I could just assign it to myself. The great thing about this is that you can sync this with your calendar. So any tasks, or pretty much tasks or list items, if they're assigned to you, it can show on your calendar. You could do that in the settings, but we'll do that later. So now we have, let's add some more information. So I want to know what products they're going to order, and we only have 3 products, for example, in our wholesaling cookie business, for example. So I'm going to add a column. The next data type, what I like using, is a drop-down list. Drop-down lists are great. I'm going to do product, for example. You could do product, you could do service is another great one. This is also great because I like it. Instead of a text field, which anyone could type anything randomly, you can start to use drop-down lists for reports, which we'll do in an events feature, events course, for example. So here I have only, let's say, 3 products in my business. I have chocolate. Great. So now in my list of products, I have 3 products that I wholesale, for example, in my fictitious cookies wholesaling business. We have cookies, vanilla cookies, and peanut butter cookies. We can also color code these to make them visually more interesting. If you highlight over the circle, you can change the color. I'm just going to change this one to blue, change this one to yellow, and peanut butter to this tan color. Cool. And I think that looks great. So now I'm going to click create. And it shows right here. Now the other way to move your columns is if you click on the name and hold, you can drag it all the way over to organize the list. So you could change the order of the columns basically. Now let's say Bob, for example, this is just a test. I'm going to click on the drop down and he's interested in chocolate chip cookies. That's awesome. So Bob is a new business. Say he owns a bakery in Los Angeles, and he was interested in buying a wholesale lot of chocolate chip cookies from my wholesale cookie business, but I need to know quantity, so we need a numbers column. So let's go back, add a column. We're going to add numbers, and I'm going to say quantity, and then it's a number, and click create. And then if I click and hold, I could drag this over, and I can enter quantity, let's say 10,000. He wants to order 10,000 chocolate chip cookies. That sounds great. This is great that we're organizing this in 2 separate lists and not just writing in notes, oh, he wants chocolate cookies at 10K. Instead of doing like a text list, for example. The reason why is now later on in the advanced course or another video, we can do dashboards and we could do reports. So we could do very easy visuals of like how many products did we sell per month or month over month, for example. We could do calculations, which is super nice. So like, for example, if I add another one, I'm gonna click add task, say Sally, new lead. She wants vanilla cookies and she wants 20,000. She sells a lot of cookies. The cool thing is because they're all the same data type, this is just for numbers, for example. At the very bottom, I could click calculate, and I could do a sum, I could do an average, a range. I want to do sum. So I could be like, oh my God, there's 30,000 cookie orders, potential cookie orders in my new lead sales pipeline. That's exciting. Now, assigning, it's just me, but I can assign this to different people on my team to handle or to get notified, for example. But I'm just going to click on the column and I'm going to hide it, for example. Looks good. Now, due date is very interesting. Due date will also sync with your Google Calendar. That's why I love ClickUp, is that it syncs with your calendar in real time, which is super nice. And it does two ways. So if you move it and change the date on your Google Calendar, it will automatically update back in ClickUp. Now let's say, for example, for a date, we could click on a date and I could say like the 5th they want to order. And then next one, we could change another date. Great. Now, quick thing on dates, which is super nice. Dates can also be reoccurring. Let's say you want this once it goes to complete, you can have it reoccur or create a new task. This is why I like it. I mostly use it for, I have a list of bills, or yeah, basically bills or subscriptions, both for business and personal. And the great thing about this is that right here, you can set a reoccurring date. So once it closes or goes to complete, ClickUp will automatically create a new one. So for example, let's say every month, same date, when it becomes a close win, meaning it goes to close win. And I like doing this, create a new task, and I go to options, and then I say, hey, include everything, include all the details, like the history, the notes. That way it just keeps, that way you always get to up to date, you always get all the information. Reoccur forever, and when it comes to new status, I could do new lead, or I could put a new status, call it reoccurring, for example. But I'm just going to have it new lead. So what happens, so if I, now this is, because this is recurring, let's say Sally, she comes and she's like, yo, I want to order every month 20,000 vanilla cookies. Awesome, Sally. So if I change the status, we'll show a couple ways to do that. I could click on the circle here and change it to close win. It becomes close win, and then bam, just like magic, ClickUp automatically created a brand new task because it's recurring, added all the details, and then redid the date for the next month, for example. So that's why I really like ClickUp, is when you do recurring, and then I could track how many cookie sales were closed win for this date, for example. This is real helpful for reporting. Awesome. If you want to change the status of multiple ones, if you go over and highlight, you can see these little hot check marks right here. There's a hidden one right up here that will check all the ones in the status, for example, or you could check them manually one at a time. When you select them, a new bar appears at the very bottom, this little black bar right here. This allows you to make bulk edits, for example, like say, hey, all of these, I want to change the status to follow up. And that's a way that you can move around big or a lot. And that's a way that you can move a large number of tasks from one status to the next status. Let's actually go into a task because I want to show you something interesting. So now if I click on a task, like say, for example, Bob, I can see my custom fields right here, custom information. Oops, there we go. That's interesting. I can click under here, description. I can add a bunch of notes any way that I want, for example. ClickUp also has the ability to format text, just like how Notion, for example. So if you click here, each block, you can make it a table, and you can add tables. I'm just going to do a bunch of random ones where you could do headers. You can do bullet points. You can even do checklist, for example. Oh yeah, there you go, checklist. So now you can have things to check if you have small little things that you have to follow up for. So think of this as a document or a note that you can format any way that you want, add additional information. Over here on the right hand side, this is what I really like, the activity. For one, it will show you a history of all the things that have happened to this task since it was created in a nice little timeline. So we created this 12 minutes ago. We added notes. We added a text to notes that says new lead. It was assigned to me. I set the product to chocolate cookies. I added quantity. Then we changed the status. We went back and forth, and that was the last thing. So this is great, so you can see the history of all the activity that has happened to this ticket or to this list or new lead, for example. And then you can add notes in here. So this is just comments. So you can add, hey, I can add additional notes. The other thing, what I really love is that if you hook up your email to it, it's in the settings. Then I could toggle right here. I could add a comment, or I could send a direct email. To do that, for example, I need an email custom field. So to add a custom field from inside the ticket, for example, if we go to custom fields, go over to this little plus symbol, you can add and create a custom field. I want to add a email. So there's the email one. Click on it. We're just going to call it email, for example, and click create. So now our custom field, and we could pin these if you want to pin them, just for pinning the order. I'm going to say hello. So once I put an email, now I can do this cool feature where I can send them an email from ClickUp without having to open my email client. So I could say, hey, click the little email button, click on the email from here. So pull in that email from that custom field there, which is nice. Subject, your order details. And then I could say anything that I want, blah, blah, blah. And then this is really cool. I can attach a file from here, or this is the real power. What I really like is email templates. Let's say I have a template for a new order. We're going to create a new email template here. Add email template. I'm going to call this first email order, new order. I'm going to say subject, your order details. I could be like, hello, blah. Your order number is placeholder. They're not actual placeholders, but this is just like if it was a template. Talk soon, Jonathan. So now I could share this with just myself or my entire team, for example. So now we created an email template. I'll click create. And now this is so cool. Let me just delete this, delete this. So we have a email template from here, blank email. If I go email template, first email, new order, great. Zoom in, yeah. And then I click on it, bam, it just did the subject, did the email, did the body, and then I just click send, and it'll automatically send it off. And it sends it from your email. It's shown here, and then you could send a comment to your team. You could at your team member, which is just me. Hey, Jonathan, I sent an email, follow up with them after. This is great because then Jonathan, or if I had another team member, I could comment them, they'll get a notification, and they could automatically go into this ticket and do any additional work so that it automatically is logged and tagged so that nothing gets dropped or falls through the cracks. Now for this demo, I just went to my email and I replied back. So the cool thing is if the customer replies, so this is the email that we sent them, and then it automatically shows the reply email. If they just say reply and they follow up, it said, oh, thank you so much. My customers are excited for the order. Awesome. And all of this is stored in the activity in the ticket for Bob with that email. That's the great thing about using ClickUp, is that you can send emails. They could do manually. You can also do automatic emails, which is kind of cool too. The next thing, what I really want to show you, what I'm really excited about, is forms. This is a, let's say I want to create a form so I could send it to my team or anyone else outside. They could fill it out and they will automatically add that new contact into my CRM, for example. So if we go up to the very top and I go to view and I type form, there's forms. So if I click on it, it's going to add each of these. Everything right up here are different ways to view the same list, for example. So under form, makes it very easy to create a form. I'm going to say, we're going to give it a name, new customer. And then I'm going to drag. You have all your standard fields right here on the left-hand side. You have your custom fields that you created down here. So I'm just going to make it very simple. Name and email, just drag the order. I'm going to change the name here by clicking that pencil icon, name, email, and then we can also put product, for example. Click and drag. Awesome. You can make them required. I'm going to say yes. Yes, name, email, what product they're interested. Awesome. Very simple. Now, since we're in the unlimited plan, you can't remove the branding and you can't change the fields to full width. unless you go up to the business plan, which I highly recommend when we get to the advanced video. Also, by the way, if you're finding this valuable, let's just take a moment. If you're finding this valuable, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and then also like it so it boosts it for the algorithm so other people can see this, and throw a comment about something else, another topic that you want to learn, or comment for the advanced course too so I can make that. So just know only on the paid plan can you do the branding, and the full width is basically the main thing. Also, if you want to do templates or redirect, that's in the paid, the $12 one. But we're just going to create a very simple form. You have two toggles right here, one for editing, one for preview. So now I could preview and see how it does the kind of like sandwiches. If you want them all on the list, you kind of have to upgrade to their business plan. It's worth it, especially when you get to do dashboards, for example, in the advanced course. So we'll click editing. That looks good. Now the cool thing, if I like what I see, then I'm going to, oh, by the way, you can also customize the thank you response down here under response. You can click this and then customize the thank you message right there. But if everything looks good, you can go to preview and that looks good. Then on the right hand side, there we go. You can activate it or deactivate it. We definitely want to activate it. And then you could click copy link. So this, you can create a public link, almost also like a website basically. You can make it not expire, for example. You could embed it into a website, HTML, but we just want a simple copy link. So now if I go to a new website and paste it, it gives you a very custom URL. It's already a website, a form, so if someone goes to this website, you can hand it out, send in an email, give it to your team. I'm going to call this Mike Jones. His email, mike@gmail.com. And the product he's interested, he's into chocolate chip. And then click submit. Great, we got our thank you page. Awesome, they do a little advertisement. So now if we go back to our CRM, so we're back in our list, on the top left hand side, if we click on our CRM list, look at that, Mike Jones automatically entered into our CRM manually without having to do any crazy integrations, which is nice. And he's interested in chocolate chip cookies. And if we want his email, we know how to do that. We can click on the plus symbol, just like we're going to add a custom field. We're going to click the back arrow, go to fields, scroll all the way down. There's our email at the very bottom. Toggle it so it kind of shows. And then I could drag it all the way over here using the column. So now I got his email, the product, the quantity, if there's a due date, and I can add a note, for example. Great. The last thing I want to introduce you to, which is really powerful, is automations. The ability to automatically either add information, fill in forms, or to notify team members, for example, or to trigger third-party integrations. That's the great thing about ClickUp, is that you can build automations to save you and your team time. So for this example, what I want is I'm going to create, so in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to create a ship date column. So it's a date when we ship the cookies, for example. And every time we go to close win, it will automatically populate that date with today, for example, just to show this automation. So I need a new custom field. So I'm going to add our column right here, plus symbol. I want to add a date field. I'm going to say ship date. When the products were shipped, adds the date field, click create. There it is, it's right here. So there we go. So it's at the very last. So now I want to automatically fill that when the status becomes close win, for example. So in the upper right hand corner, can't really see it because my face is in the way. Just know, let's see. There we go. My face is in the way. Yeah, it's actually right behind my face. There's a button that says automations. So when you click on that, then you get this automations window where you have a library of many different, these are like they're like templates to kind of get started. So think of these as categories. I like to mess around in the category section basically. So we want to look for one that's kind of like what we're looking for, basically when the status changes, update date. So if we go to the dates field right here, when status changes, change the due date. That's close enough. We could change that around. So if I click on that, on the left hand side is your trigger, and then on the right hand side is your automation of what you want to happen when this event happens. So here I want the status, and when it moves from any status to You have all your different close win. You could like toggle just to see all the different statuses. I only want close win. So click confirm. So what we're saying here, when this happens, when the task, the status changes from any status, for example, you could be specific if you want, to close win, great. Once it meets that criteria, then here I want to say, then change the due date. Actually, it's a different field. So we're going to say set custom field. And then you have the option to select that field. I want my ship date. Great. And then the value to today on the trigger date. Great. That looks good. I'm going to now click create right here. What I highly recommend is always add a name and description, because a week, a month from now, you're going to turn this automation on and off. You're going to have many different automations. So really helpful. This is practice on documentation. Always be kind to your future self and always document any automations. So I'm going to say when status is complete, update ship date to today. I could change the name here. Automation 1 complete, then ship date equals today. So just a name and description just to make it easier for your future self. You can also duplicate, you can edit, there we go. You can duplicate, trash, edit, or disable so you could turn it on in a future date, for example. So this is on, so now we're going to test. So I'm going to click this X. And so now if I take Mike Jones, remember ship date is completely empty right here. We're going to test it out. I'm going to take the status, go to close win, watch the ship date. Look, no hands. Bam, takes a second. Sometimes if it lags, you just have to refresh, but I didn't do anything. Took maybe about 5 seconds. And now it automatically added the ship date to today with no hands, without you having to do anything. That's the automation. And if we click on it under history, or the activity here, we can even see that the automation kicked in and triggered and automatically updated. So you get even an edit history, which is super powerful. So that's it for this beginner tutorial to get you comfortable with how to use ClickUp as a CRM to customize it. But let's review what we've done. We've created a space on the left-hand side called my cookie wholesale. It's just a space, it's a folder that holds lots of lists. In there, I have a list that's a CRM. I could also have another list for tasks, for example. But in this list of my CRM, we have our view up here, so you can view different ones. While we're here, let me just show you this one last one. If I go view, I could also choose a board or a Kanban board. This is also if you're familiar with Trello, for example. This is just another way to view the same list. So I could view it as a list here, or I could view it as a board, so I could visually see from the left-hand side how many new leads, the right-hand side going down all the way to follow-up. You can click and drag to move one from one column to another column, for example. And it's just another way to visually see your list, for example. So that's the board. We added a couple different custom fields. We added an email field. We added a drop-down list right here where we can add different standardized information. Drop-down list and numbers are great for when you do dashboard and reports and you want to do a sum value or the total value of how many products and how many quantity, for example. Then we also have a due date and a ship date, which we triggered through our automation. In the upper right-hand corner, there's that automation button. So here's our automation. On the very top is where you can browse the library. You could do manage, which shows you a list of all the, zoom out there, shows a list of all your active, well, these are all your active automations. If I want to disable but not delete, I could toggle this button right here. Notice how there's two tabs, one here for active, which there's none, or here for inactive. These are all my automations saved, and I could toggle them to make them active again, which is super nice. And then you can see usage, and then activity, which is in the business plan, and any that are reoccurring, which is nice. Then we also created a custom form so that when people fill out this form, it automatically adds people to the CRM automatically without having to build a website, which is super nice. Lastly, if you want to take your skills to the next level and join my Tech Club community, you get access to my courses, my deep dives on digital marketing, productivity, Notion, ChatGPT, and advanced ClickUp courses. We meet 3 times a week for live workshops. You get a private app for 24/7 support. Tech Club is my online community and where I put all my library of advanced courses, and I can help you level up with live workshops every week. So if you find value out of this and want to take your skills to the next level, I highly recommend you enroll for a free 7-day trial at Tech Club. I'm Jonathan Acuna. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a blessed day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.